This is your official WWE Extreme Rules 2020 review here on the JBSN Media Network YouTube channel. Jeff here with you. It took place on the PC in Orlando, Florida. Let's get right into the action. One match on the kickoff had Kevin Owens and Buddy Murphy going one-on-one. The match was announced very late here. Decent back and forth action here. At one point we saw Buddy Murphy hit this nice power-up brainbuster suplex on Owens for a 2 count. But the move that probably everyone will remember in the match, we had Kevin Owens up on the second rope. Looked like he was in position for a swanton perhaps, but instead, a move we've seen him do, but we haven't seen it in a while, and he broke it out here, as a matter of fact. He catapulted himself up to the top rope, nearly slipped, but he held on, pulled it off, and actually hit a moonsault. Nice looking moonsault, got a 2 count with it, so it looked pretty good there. Almost slipped, but he pulled it off. Eventually, Owens, after a little bit more, was able to hit a super kick onto Buddy Murphy, and then eventually he nailed the stunner and got the win with it at 8 minutes and 52 seconds. So Kevin Owens gets the win here. Nobody came out to do anything afterwards or during the match, so straight up one-on-one action here. Owens got the expected win here. I gave the match a C+. It served its purpose. It served its point. Owens getting the win here was not a surprise, and this would be the only time we would see either two of these on the show. We would not see them again the rest of the night, so that's what we had there as far as the kickoff. They jerked the curtain with the main portion of Extreme Rules with the WWE SmackDown Tag Team title match. We had the New Day defending the titles against Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. This was a tables match. For a tables match, I thought this was actually very pedestrian. Back and forth action here, basic stuff here from these guys with plenty of teases, hitting these moves. At one point, one of the big spots early on in the match, we had Big E whip Kofi. You know, they set him up here to try to do a move on the outside. They had a table set up out there. I think it was Shinsuke was on the table. So Kofi goes launching over the top rope, but Cesaro and Shinsuke were ready for him. They had this table actually set up and actually smacked Kofi right in the face with it as he came out off the top rope and onto the ground there. So basically more back and forth action here. We get late in the match here. We see that there were these 2 tables that are stacked up, so obviously you knew that was going to be the finish. Big E ultimately gets taken out of the situation when Cesaro nails his swing, and then Shinsuke hit a basement dropkick. That eliminated him, so Kofi's fighting these two off for a little while, hangs on, but ultimately in the end, we see Kofi up on the top rope there is Cesaro with the help of Shinsuke, but mostly Cesaro, and he just powerbombed the hell out of Kofi Kingston through these 2 tables that were stacked on the outside. He drove him through, and that was it. And at 10 minutes and 23 seconds, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura are the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. I did not see that coming. I was actually a little surprised here. I figured the New Day were retaining here, but they did switch the titles here, so Cesaro and Shinsuke are the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. I don't see them lasting very long as Tag Team Champions. I think come SummerSlam, they're losing it right back to the New Day. As for the match itself, I gave it a C. Very, very pedestrian. I've seen better tables matches. It served its purpose here. A little bit of a surprise to see Cesaro and Shinsuke win it, so that's what we had there. C is my official grade. Next match, after a little bit of backstage stuff here with the women, with Bayley and Nikki and Asuka and Kairi Sane, we have that SmackDown Women's title match here. Bayley defending the SmackDown Women's title against Nikki Cross. This was a good match, but not a great match. Nikki Cross was a house of fire early on here, going right after Bayley. At one point, she actually hit the swinging neckbreaker early on for a very close near fall. She's just going after Bayley. Eventually, Bayley cuts her off on the outside. She goes to work on Nikki Cross for a while. At one point, we see Bayley hit the Bayley to belly suplex for a 2 count. Just more back and forth. Nikki Cross gets her heat back, and she goes on to do some close near falls on Bayley. We get to the end of the match because everyone wanted to see how the finish was going to happen. We kind of had an idea here. At one point, after Nikki Cross had hit this neck breaker inside to the outside of the ring, Bayley is back in the ring here. Looks like Nikki Cross is going to win the match. Sasha Banks gets up to distract the referee. Eventually, Alexa Bliss on the other side gets up to distract the referee because they're out there in their respective corners. Eventually, we see Sasha Banks pass off the boss ring to Bayley. Bayley nails Nikki Cross right in the midsection with it and then hits her one move, and that was it. And at 12 minutes and 22 seconds, Bayley successfully defended the SmackDown Women's title against Nikki Cross here. Look, this was the expected outcome. Bayley winning was not a surprise. We all figured she was winning, and likely Sasha Banks was going to help her do it. That's exactly what happened here. The match itself was good, but not great. I gave it a B-, and we'll see what happens when we get to the Raw Women's title match here coming up in a little bit. What was supposed to be the next match was the U.S. title match here with Apollo Crews defending the title against MVP, of course. MVP carrying around the new U.S. title. We didn't get the match. They tried to explain it off on TV that Apollo Crews, quote, failed his pre-match physical because of the injury he suffered from Lashley with the full Nelson in his back and all that, which we all know is a crock of bull, by the way. I think we all know what's going on here. So basically, they did a deal here where, you know, they had MVP go out, grab the title, and left with Bobby Lashley, and that was it. So we got no match here. I gave this an F. Clearly, they're lying about Apollo Crews. We know what's going on here. They're not going to come out publicly and say what it is because we all know what it is. I gave this an F. You know, just tell the truth. Tell the truth. Just come on and say, now I know legally they can't do it, but we all know what it is. You know, it's just one of those things that really bugs me about it. So that was it. So we did not get a U.S. title match here with Apollo Crews and MVP. I gave it an F. Next match was the Eye for the Eye match. We have Rey Mysterio Jr. taking on Seth Rollins here. I don't know, I did not like this match at all. Just a lot of back and forth here with each guy going after the other's eye. We see kendo sticks being used, we see the stumps, we see the ring steps, all these things being used to try to go after each other's eye. Of course, the object was to have one opponent's eye come out here. That's how you won the match here, if you take the other opponent's eye out. I did not like this. I didn't think this was entertaining at all, considering we have two guys here in Rey Mysterio Jr. and Seth Rollins who know how to work in the ring. I didn't think this was a good match at all. The psychology of the match here, I didn't think was all that exciting here. The storytelling, I didn't think was all that exciting. We just get to the end here. They're on the outside here. Ultimately, Rey Mysterio Jr. gets nailed with a stomp on the outside. He's pretty much laid out. And then, sure enough, they go for the corner step spot that they did with Rey Mysterio Jr. several weeks ago here with Rollins. Rollins ultimately works Seth works Rey Mysterio, I should say, to the corner of the step. He ultimately gouges the eye here. That's what we had as far as that go, and that was it. We saw Rey Mysterio just, you know, writhing in pain there. Seth Rollins comes over to look, and then he's kind of mortified here. We ultimately, eventually, we get a quick shot of Rey Mysterio Jr.'s face with a mask and all that, and we see the, quote, eye, which kind of looked like a gumball, by the way, or a very cheap plastic version of an eye. There was no CGI here, which was rumored here. They went for very basic stuff here, and at 17 minutes and 48 seconds, Seth Rollins won the match here. Not a surprise. He was expected to win here. I mean, clearly the eye was fake. We can all tell by seeing the picture that was floating around on social media. It looked bad here. They used some fake blood as well here. And of course, to top this whole god-awful match off here, they had Seth Rollins actually vomit after the match here, because we know Vince loves his toilet humor. He loves the vomiting and all that kind of disgusting stuff. So that was it. So Seth Rollins won. Not a surprise here. I gave the match a D+. This was not very good at all. Didn't really care for it. So that's what we had as far as that goes. Next up was the WWE Raw Women's title match here. We had Asuka defending the title against Sasha Banks here. This was easily the best match of the entire show here. These two told a great story, even though the match itself made no sense because Sasha Banks is a SmackDown performer. Back and forth action, great stuff here from these two. Told a great story. Of course, Bayley was out in the corner of Sasha. Kairi Sane was out in the corner of Asuka. They just go back and forth for a while, each getting their submissions on, both able to counter out of them by getting to the ropes. Just back and forth here. We get late in the match here. Looks like Asuka's in position to get the match won here. Bayley gets up on the apron. Kairi goes after her. Eventually, Bayley lays her out with a Bayley to belly to take her out for a little while. She tries to get into the ring, you know, to get the DQ, finish her, do something to help Sasha. The referee stops it. You know, she eventually throws a belt into Sasha. The referee eventually catches her, almost trying to use the belt. The referee stops it. And then eventually what happens next is we see Asuka and Kairi Sane here on the outside trying to get an idea together. And then eventually Asuka actually goes to use the green mist on Sasha. Sasha ducks and nails the referee with it. He's blind, selling like a complete jackass here. And then with the referee blind, Bayley gets into the ring again after Kairi gets laid out again. Bayley wheels Asuka from behind with one of the belts, and then that was it. And then ultimately we saw Bayley actually take the referee's shirt off the referee and actually put it on herself and counted the 3. And at 20 minutes and 13 seconds, we get a non-finish finish here. Bayley actually went over the timekeeper and forced the timekeeper to ring the bell, but there was no announcement of a title switch here. I did not like the finish here. The finish was convoluted. It was overbooked. It was like something you would see from Vince Russo, bro. They ended it in controversy. I know they needed to protect both women here, but this was seriously what they did here. I did not like this finish. It was overbooked for my liking. Now, obviously, if you're listening to this as part of my podcast this week, and if you watched Raw, we obviously know what's going to be going on there, but I don't know. It was a great match. Didn't like the finish here. It was too convoluted for me. I did give the match a B. It was the best match on the entire show between these two. They told a great story, but the finish just kind of took the grade down a bit for me here. Next match was the WWE title match where Drew McIntyre defending the title against Dolph Ziggler. Of course, Ziggler gets to reveal the stipulation. The stipulation he revealed is that he gets to use the Extreme Rules to his advantage here. He can do pretty much whatever he wants. He can't be counted out or disqualified. He gets to use any weapons he wants to use. Drew McIntyre doesn't get that luxury. He can lose the title on a count out. He can lose the title in a disqualification, so he has to wrestle a near perfect match here, which he does. Ziggler controlled most of the match, using the weapons to his advantage. Of course, Drew was able to fight it off. He was able to recover, and we just getting late in the match here. We saw Drew McIntyre go for the Claymore, but at one point we saw Ziggler use the chair, take out his leg, but then Ziggler was getting ready to set up for a super kick to maybe finish the match. We saw Drew McIntyre do the kip up and eventually nailed the Claymore onto Ziggler, and at 15 minutes and 24 seconds he got the win to retain as expected. Not a big surprise here. I gave the match a C-. It was what it was. The outcome was never in doubt here with Ziggler, and of course if you are checking this out as part of the podcast and you watch Raw, you know that they're going to have another match. So again, it was what it was. I thought the match was, it was just there, didn't really do anything. The final thing on the night here was the Wyatt Swamp fight. This was a non-title match here. We had Braun Strowman, the Universal Champion, taking on Bray Wyatt here. This was, of course, filmed cinematic style. This apparently took 6 to 7 hours to film this out in the swamp there in Florida. I didn't like any of this. I thought this was a complete waste of time here. Just, again, it was similar in theory to what they did with Wyatt and Cena as far as storytelling aspects go. They kind of went for the same thing here. This was not a match. This was just kind of a time filler. I thought this was completely a waste of time here. At one point, we saw Alexa Bliss appear in the sketch here because her and Braun Strowman have a thing that everyone's aware of because of the Mixed Match Challenge a long while back here. So they just, quote, fight each other for a while. And they tried to do the deal by fooling people with the early copyright stamp, showing that Braun was standing tall in the end. But instead, Bray Wyatt got the mandible claw on the Braun. They go into the water here, and ultimately we seen the Fiend appear in the end here. So they kind of went for a Jason finish here. I guess Bray Wyatt won the match, if you want to call it a match. So clearly, with the Fiend showing up here, we know we're getting another match here. It's going to be a title match here with Braun Strowman taking on the Fiend at SummerSlam. That's what this did. So they filmed this for 6 to 7 hours, and this went about 18 minutes. I thought this was complete time filler. This was a waste of time. There was nothing gained by this. I gave this an F. I didn't care for any of this. I didn't need to see it here. I would rather them had another match instead of doing this crap that they did here. I did not like it. I gave it an F. So that was it. That's what we saw on Extreme Rules 2020. Well, you may also be wondering why I didn't mention anything about the bar fight match between Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. The reason why I didn't mention anything about it is because the match did not happen. It was pulled from the show. It is being moved to SmackDown for this upcoming week, for the reason to help the SmackDown ratings. We know the ratings for SmackDown have been very low. So that's what happened here as far as that goes. We did not have the match on the show here. They moved it to SmackDown. So that's why I didn't mention anything about the Jeff Hardy Sheamus bar fight. So just in case you may have been wondering why I may have skipped it or may not have even mentioned it, that's what happened there. So that's what we had as far as that goes. So my overall official grade for WWE Extreme Rules 2020 is going to be a D+. Now, the two women's matches, especially the Asuka-Sasha Banks match, that was a positive. The Nikki Cross-Bayley match was a positive, and the fact that the show ended by 9:30 was a positive. Other than that, there was really not a whole lot else on the show that was really exciting, so You know, we had 2 Fs. I did not give an A to anything on the show. I thought the 2 women's matches were the best thing on the entire show. Other than that, you didn't really miss a whole lot here. So again, my overall official grade is a D+ for Extreme Rules 2020. Let me know down in the comments section below if you agree with me and what your favorite moment from Extreme Rules 2020 was. We'll see you the next time right here on the YouTube channel for another review. Bye for now, everyone.